Welcome to the Driving the World podcast. I'm your host, Culley Holland. Today we are coming to you from the AGMA Motion and Power Expo, and we have Doug Moulton with UPT.
Hey Doug, how's it going? Thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. How are you?
Doing well today. We're wrapping up the third day of the show. So we met some good folks, some interesting applications, and we've learned a lot.
Very good. I mean, that's the whole point of these trade shows, so I'm glad it's been a fruitful 3 days. But why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to some of the listeners and kind of your company, what y'all do,
Sure.
what you're all about.
My name is Doug Moulton, so I'm the Business Development Manager for United Protective Technologies, and we are a coating provider. So we work across industries to provide thin film vacuum deposition coatings. So
Okay.
We're effectively growing a metal on a component inside of a vacuum chamber.
That is really cool. Why would anyone want to do that?
So there's a few reasons why across different industries, whether it's plastic injection molding. What we do is we'll coat the tooling for that. They'll get improved release. They'll be able to decrease their cycle time. So now in a 24-hour period, they're getting 2% more product. And thirdly, what we can do is chemically strip the coating before any of the actual substrate from the tool is damaged, recoat, and that's the amount of tooling required for retooling.
So I guess what you're saying is they don't have to replace their tools. It is just a replacement of the coating. And then that's going to save time, energy, effort, money. I'm assuming all that's right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at ceramic injection molding, and I know we're doing gears, but they're tooling anywhere between $125,000 to $250,000 for a set. And before us, they were actually scrapping it. They were just scrapping it after a few hundred shots. We started coating their tooling. They were getting, I think, 1,200 shots with our older generation coating. We were still chemically stripping and recoating, so there's no more tooling. The only tooling cost they have is now the coating.
Right.
And our latest generation coatings, they're getting upwards of 5,000 shots from a baseline of a few hundred.
So just slightly better is what I'm hearing.
A little bit, yeah.
Little growth, little improvement I hear. So I heard ceramic, some other types of industries and coating. So where would we find this, like out in the field? Like what kind of customers are using these? I know you've named a few, but I mean, there has to be a bunch out there.
There are, yeah. So if you look at gear applications as well, one of the things the coating does, in particular our DLC, diamond-like carbon, what it does is it's oleophilic. So in a situation with a gear tooth interface where you may lose that thin film of oil, let's take the EV market, for example, their RPMs are ridiculously high. I'm like 20,000 RPMs.
Right, unheard of.
And what happens is the oil gets basically launched centrifugally out of this system. So then you have high-speed metal on metal. So what our coating does, it has a natural affinity to oil, so it actually retains it more. So before NASCAR changed the regulation, and it's probably why I can share this detail, we would coat the ring and pinion sets, and they would get a boost of 4 to 5 horsepower just from a coating.
Wow. That's a big deal in NASCAR.
It's a huge deal. Yeah. It might be why they discontinued allowing coatings, but
probably.
Yep. And it's super thin too. 3.5 microns. So human hair, 100, 150 microns. Our coating 3.5.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty thin.
Mm-hmm. What's great about it too is it doesn't impact most tolerances we deal with.
And I know that's a huge deal because tolerances need to be held tight, and it's probably like one of the main things that a lot of manufacturers look at is, the tolerances and how can they be held. So if we're not affecting the tolerances with your coating, I can see how that would be a huge bonus, and then probably one of the headaches that someone would think of with coating that has now been eliminated.
Yeah, if you think about it too, there's a lot of existing systems, designs, parts that have been used for decades. We can coat existing systems without having to change the design of it. Which is really great because we can be basically retrofitted to current systems for improvement.
Right.
And if you look at the legacy type coatings, chrome plating, nickel TEF, and combinations thereof, we typically end up replacing those across industries, especially with the more recent kind of push. And I think it's coming from the DoD to move away from hexavalent chrome.
Okay.
We are actually a green process. We don't have any toxic byproducts, and our coating is food contact safe.
That is a huge benefit. So if any of this has piqued some curiosity from any of our listeners out there, how would they find you, get in contact with you? What's the best way to, learn more and get in touch?
So probably the easiest way would be to head to our website, which is www.upt-usa.com. And on there, you'll see our catalog of coatings, you'll see how to contact us, and you'll see some use cases, which kind of helps guide people who maybe don't have much experience with these coatings, because they are relatively new. If you look at, again, chrome plating, 100 years old. These have only really been commercialized, and specifically commercialized in the United States, for only about 30, 40 years.
A little bit younger, yeah. Well, I think we've touched a lot of it. Is there anything else you'd want to talk about in the coating process that you guys do, or have we done a pretty good 10,000 foot view?
I think maybe a little granular, but not all coatings are the same, right? You can go to any baker and get a chocolate cake, but every baker has their own recipe, they have their own oven, and some people like the taste of certain cakes, others don't. So DLC in particular, there is a handful of companies that have DLC. Every DLC can vary dramatically. So if you're looking at a DLC, one of our so what's is we use a multi-layer stack. So under the pure diamond-like layer, we have tungsten and then chrome. So what you effectively create is a tougher coating, as opposed to having just that outer layer directly to the substrate. It can now take more impact and load.
Which is, I'm assuming, a benefit 99% of the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, fantastic. Well, if there's nothing else, I just want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate you stopping by, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks, man. This has been great.